Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Kim Miller begins now.
Good evening, everyone. The trial of the operator of the jumping castle, which blew into the air at Hillcrest Primary School nearly 3 years ago, has come to an end. But a decision won't be handed down until after the new year.
Walking out of Devonport Magistrates Court after an unimaginably difficult 2 weeks, these families have been watching on every day as the circumstances leading up to the tragedy in 2021 were recounted and analysed, often in horrific detail. Today marks the end of a 10-day trial after Rosemary Gamble, who traded as Taszorb, pleaded not guilty to a charge of failing to comply with a health and safety duty. She was the operator of the jumping castle and Zorb balls, which were whipped into the air by what's been described as a dust devil at a Hillcrest Primary School fun day. 6 children died, 3 more were seriously injured. At the heart of the Crown case, the fact the jumping castle was secured with 4 pins smaller than mandated by Australian standards when 8 pins were required. The court has heard from a number of expert witnesses over the course of this trial. The final witness this afternoon, called by the defence, geotechnical engineer Dr Ashtok Peris, telling the court he believes even if 8 pins had been used that day, it wouldn't have stopped the jumping castle being lifted into the air by the freak wind event. We're still some time away from a decision in this case. Both sides will enter written submissions in the new year before the magistrate hands down his verdict on February 17. Nick Kelly, 7 Tasmania News.
The Premier has snubbed a public hearing into the biggest infrastructure bungle in the state's history, drawing criticism across the political divide. The move left his new infrastructure minister to face the music, alongside other government officials who shed more light on the troubled project.
As the Public Accounts Committee kicked off more hearings into the Spirit of Tasmania fiasco, there was one notable absence, the Premier, despite trumpeting the prospect of new international flights hours before.
We've worked really hard with the Premier's office right from September to secure this date, allowing for his overseas trade missions, all of those things.
For the Premier of Tasmania to the last minute pull out, I think speaks to his lack of credibility and his lack of transparency.
There have been appalling decisions made. It has to be his first priority to be honest with Tasmanians.
Jeremy Ratcliffe insists he will front up at a later date.
I was invited as Minister for Infrastructure, and there's now a new Minister for Infrastructure who will be present. Of course, we've got a busy day, Cabinet, a lot to get through.
Only less than a month into the infrastructure portfolio, Kerry Vincent was unable to field questions about the Spirits project before his time in the role. During questions, infrastructure expert Peter Gemmell outlined concerns TT Line wasn't able to deliver the Berth 3 infrastructure.
The TT Line personnel, processes, systems, they didn't exist for the purpose of delivery of a complicated civil engineering project of the character we're talking about.
Knowing what you know now,
yes,
what should have happened at the outset?
A shipping company should never have taken on a complicated civil engineering construction process.
During the morning session, Sea Road Chairman Chas Kelly argued against a proposed 3-way merger of Tasports, TT Line and Tasrail, claiming many of the setbacks could have been avoided if TT Line and Tasports worked more effectively together from the start.
I don't understand why people can't cooperate, because that's really all that was needed here. Tasports are blaming TT Line are blaming Tasports.
Anthony Dodd, 7 Tasmania News.
Gregory Geeson is no longer a Supreme Court judge after tendering his resignation effective immediately. Last week, the 63-year-old was sentenced to 100 hours community service after being found guilty of assault and emotional abuse. During sentencing submissions, his lawyer told the court his client intended to resign imminently. The now former Supreme Court judge had been receiving full pay since a charges were first laid in December last year. As the last 2 sitting weeks for State Parliament this year draws closer, the Greens continue to call for the government and the opposition to come clean on political donations, tabling a parliamentary bill this week to strengthen transparency. The party wants the disclosure limit dropped from 5,000 to 1,000, with more real-time reporting during election campaigns.
Tasmanians deserve to know how much money different companies, individuals are donating to political parties and candidates.
Premier Jeremy Rockliff says the government has already introduced improved donations laws over the past 12 months. Any further changes will be a matter for the other parties and MPs. New polling data shows a popularity contest between the Premier and the opposition leader has tightened. The latest EMRS figures show Jeremy Rockliff saw a 2% drop as preferred Premier from August to November, but still remains ahead of opposition leader Dean Winter, who saw a 7% rise over the same period. The poll also found Labor is making ground as the preferred major party, only trailing the Liberals by 4% compared to 9% 3 months ago. Flights between Hobart and Asia are one step closer to becoming reality for Tasmanians as the government continues negotiating with two major international airlines. The first passengers could take to the sky next June, pending necessary upgrades to the runway.
Travelling abroad usually means more than one flight for Tasmanians, but now the government and Hobart Airport are putting trade talks on the table, negotiating international flights with Cathay Pacific and Singapore Airlines, connecting Tasmania with Asia.
We went through and looked at the economic impact of this, and we've estimated it's $122 million a year.
Last year, international tourists generated over $500 million into the state's economy.
When you bring in tourists, visitors to Tasmania, they spend money, they're supporting our restaurants, our local pubs and clubs, our accommodation, our hotels.
It's not just about the visitors that are coming to Tassie, it's also about the opportunity for Tasmanians to see the rest of the world as well.
But it may be a wait until the flights become available, with the major construction underway at the airport, including a $130 million investment to strengthen the runway.
That work will be finished in June next year. And so then we'll have the capability to handle those international flights.
Allowing freight as well as passengers to take to the air.
90% of air freight around the world actually goes in the bellies of passenger aircraft.
What this means is the opportunity of our high quality producers to export their freight straight into key markets.
Helping future-proof our visitor economy. Lily Thompson, 7 Tasmanian News.
As summer fast approaches, emergency services are acting early, declaring fire permits will be required statewide from tomorrow. The move has been brought forward following a review of conditions and a potentially busy bushfire season ahead.
Come 2 o'clock tomorrow morning, a planned burn will mean a fire permit.
This means that anyone wishing to burn more than 1 cubic metre of vegetation is required to get a permit.
The Tasmania Fire Service is introducing the statewide requirement early to help mitigate the bushfire risk, pointing to soil conditions and significant grass growth as to the reasons why.
What we're doing by bringing in this permit period is allowing us to have visibility on what fire is being put in the landscapes.
It's the latest step to prepare for the impending bushfire season as efforts to complete fuel reduction burns ramp up.
We're providing staff and resources to go out and assist with conducting those burns, so in all parts of the state where there's extra resources required.
And follows the introduction of campfire bans in some national parks earlier this month.
We've already had 22 campfires reported. 8 of those were left still going and unattended, which leaves a great risk in our parks, particularly with the strong winds we've been having.
The full summer bushfire outlook is expected to be released next week. Victoria Riso, 7 Tasmania News.
Developers of a world-leading Tasmanian health literacy program, Health Lit for Kids, have launched a new book titled Global Perspectives on Children's Health and Literacy. Using evidence and expert opinions from across the globe, they say now is a time to invest in children's health literacy.
So that we can be sure into the future that our adults are equipped with the assets that they need to navigate health systems and also make health decisions in their everyday life.
They're calling on the state government to consider the program in the 2025-26 budget so it can be rolled out statewide. The Education Minister says the Liberal Party recognises the importance of health literacy and education for young people and children at school and supports several programs and funding commitments. A new incentive has been launched to get more older Tasmanians up and active. The state government's Ticket to Wellbeing voucher program will slash out-of-pocket costs for senior sports, helping pensioners play on.
The sport of pickleball has become a real hit among older Tasmanians.
Pickleball is a wonderful sport.
Playing here nearly every morning of the week. Now more potential picklers will have the chance to put their skills to the test through the state government's new Ticket to Wellbeing program, offering cost of living relief to Tasmanians aged 65 and over and more reasons to hit the court.
We'll be able to access 2 $100 vouchers.
The financial support will help cover recreation memberships or registration costs, making physical and wellness activities more accessible.
To give that same equity of service and support to them to stay connected to their community is a really valuable thing.
The initiative also helping to foster socialisation among seniors.
Have a laugh and have coffee, make friends. That's what it's all about.
To join in a group activity and maintain the social contact that comes from that, as well as the physical exercise that the activity provides, absolutely essential.
As well as strengthen intergenerational connection.
Every club is better off by having a diversity of members, different generations being involved.
And if this sport doesn't pickle your fancy, others will be on offer.
We want to expand the range of sports that are available to people to participate in.
Proving a smash hit not just for the pros.
So old that we won't be Olympics, athlete.
Rebecca Gaidaneris, 7 Tasmania News.
A new lived experience training space is launched in Hobart CBD, aiming to provide care and advice for those who have faced mental health, drug and alcohol and suicide challenges. The Lex Training Hub will act as a collaborative place where peer workers and organisations can come together to develop skills, knowledge and confidence.
This space is a recognition that without the voice of lived experience guiding the way, mental health services, supports and programs are insufficient.
The initiative is part of the 2019 Peer Workforce Development Strategy, which highlighted Tasmania had the smallest number of lived experience workers per capita in Australia. Dispelling the myths around dementia is the focus of a new book by Launceston geriatrician and counsellor Professor George Raze, who established the Launceston Memory Disorders Clinic. He says memory loss doesn't always signify Alzheimer's disease.
Some form of dementia can be prevented and treated. Most importantly, there is a form of dementia which can be treated by inserting a shunt in the cavity of the brain, in which it can improve their cognitions and physical functioning.
Dementia, A New Hope offers practical steps towards healthy ageing.
Victory continues to evade the Tigers in the Sheffield Shield, succumbing to another draw in Brisbane, forcing a follow-on this morning after bowling the Bulls out 170 runs shy of their target. Things were looking good for Tassie after Bo Webster caught Matt Renshaw for 20. However, 5 wickets in 40 overs, including 3 for Riley Meredith, wouldn't be quick enough work to give the Tigers a shot at a result late on the final day. Brisbane closing the match ahead by 55 runs at stumps to seal a draw. 2 world record breakers are stopping the Paris Velodrome for Tasmania. Gold medalists and one half of Australia's team pursuit quartet, Connor Lay and Oliver Bledon, have confirmed they'll race in this summer's Christmas Carnival Series. The Olympic heavyweights kickstart their campaign in Launceston on Boxing Day.
Good evening. Hobart and Burnie 17 degrees today. Launceston and St Helens on top with 20. Devonport 18 today. Temperatures below average as a cooler airstream took hold. Friendly Beaches 19. Lowhead, Bushy Park and Flinders Island 17. Smithton and King Island 16. Grove and Strawn reached 15 degrees and Lyawini a top of 9. We had thick cloud over the west with cloud containing thunderstorms to the northeast. To 9 this morning, Darwin Dam collected 62 millimetres of rain, and from 9 a.m. another 11 millimetres to top the rainfall readings. Now that ever-present band of cloud over northern Australia is still present. Patchy low cloud is over southeastern Australia and also the WA coast. A high over the Bight extends a ridge over central and southeast Australia tomorrow. A trough runs down the spine of Queensland and a cold front sits over its southeast. Southwesterly winds at 10 to 20 knots. They'll shift west-southwesterly later to 30 knots. Swells to 3.5 metres. We do have a strong wind warning for waters between Wineglass Bay and Southeast Cape. Hobart a partly cloudy 20 tomorrow, 18 the top for Adventure Bay. Tarraleah 2 overnight, a top of 17. Launceston 21, a sunny day, sunny for Devonport as well. Bridport partly cloudy, 17 degrees. 19 for Burnie, a sunny day, cloudy but fine for Strawn, 15 the maximum, 15 also for Marrawar. And for St Helens, partly cloudy, 18 the top, 19 for Swansea, partly cloudy on Flinders Island, white mark 17. On Wednesday, a fine day in general, maybe a spot or two early over the west with light winds. Partly cloudy for most of the state on Thursday, sunny over the west and south. Friday, temperatures warming up as we expect another fine dry day. A shower or two in Perth tomorrow, sunny in Adelaide, a cloudy 19 for Melbourne. 23 in Sydney, cloudy there as well. Rain on the way for Brisbane, a possible storm in Darwin. 13 at the moment in Hobart, clear in Launceston, 17 right now and 16 in Devonport. Kim, getting lots of interesting comments about the news tonight. Most of them asking about where you got that magnificent outfit. I want to know, is it on back to front or inside out?
I'm going to take that as a compliment. Thanks, Merv.